Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Hobby Ramblers. Today we have a special guest, Mr. Lex. As you can see,
Hey, Lex.
Could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
He is over there. He's right next to me on the screen, just right over there.
He's over there on my screen, so Lord knows how you're going to see this in the end.
Yeah, no. Lex is directly underneath you on the thing, so.
Oh, you're directly above me. Hey, Bill.
Well, yeah. So, this is going to be hopefully a new segment for Hobby Ramblers where we're going to have a guest every week, and we are going to talk a little bit about about how they got into the hobby, how the thoughts and feelings about the hobby, and possibly things that are excited about the hobby. So that is just a baseline of what we want to talk about, just to get the conversation moving along. But obviously, we are here just to have fun. I've got Google Images up just in case we need a Google search for any ye olde references, because I know Lex here is from my horse heresy community here in Singapore, and he's quite the veteran. He's much more of a veteran than me, so he'll be putting out references, and I'll probably have to Google it and show you guys what it is.
Very kind of you to say.
I'm gonna feel so lucky that I watch Oculus Imperia every day.
Exactly. So, Lex, please introduce yourself.
I'm out of London and then over to Singapore because, as you can see, glorious blue skies, love the sunshine, and as a Caucasian guy in his 40s, I like nothing better than the weather being 30 degrees plus constantly. So I moved here back in August, and I'm now working in this community here and just growing things, playing more games, and loving life. So where it's at.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've been gaming now for pretty longer than I can remember. Started with Space Hulk First Edition, Titanicus, and sort of like the old school board games that GW put out. Playing Rogue Trader, and that sort
like
of thing.
Hero Quest, Battle Master stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm original copy of Dungeon Bowl just over there. None of this newfangled nonsense, but I've been gaming for far too long. And unlike I got out of it, then got back in. I'm the boy who never grew up, so I've been playing it all along. Sounds
like you're singing my song, sir. Similar. Started in '91. With the addition of fantasy, the cardboard cutout Wyvern and Rock Lava and Griffin in it. Yeah. And we have been in and out of it perpetually ever since. July is my 30th year of my first demo game.
Love it.
Yeah. So
the other day I went through and just looked at some of my original conversions and paint jobs and things like that, and realized that the first conversion that I tried to do was taking an RTPO one head and getting a Gene Stealer from Space Hulk and trying to get the two to work together, and it looks awful, but it was fun to find it. We're just randomly sitting in my bits box, so and lots of Purple Marines and all sorts of stuff like that. So lots of fun.
That is awesome. Do you remember which store you got started in? Because I actually got started in London because my grandparents and we were there for a wedding, and the new uncle that was just joining the family, I was there going hey, this could go a lot easier if you buy me some Warhammer, get me started into Warhammer. So we took it was from Nottingham to London. So it was a couple hours train and bus ride. And we went to a Warhammer shop, and the first time I went in there I was like, okay, I know what I want. And I started my first Imperial Guard army. And back then they had the Chimera and an infantry section box that was all packaged in one. So it was 20 infantrymen and one Chimera. So got me that. got me codex, and got me some glue, got me some clippers. Done.
Perfect.
Like right now, say that I'm the best new uncle ever. You are for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the times.
Yeah.
That's how I got
I think it's
started.
interesting. I mean, you went from Nottingham, where the home of it is, down to London to actually go to a store as well. I mean, that's
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he didn't know. I don't believe Warhammer World was a really big thing back then.
probably nothing in this. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't
Yeah.
think he knew that you were allowed to just go into the factory and there was like a store and there was a game shop there and everything like that. So he just thought that was like a factory. So, London, there you go.
For me, there was a GW 3 doors down from the comic shop I used to frequent when I was like 11. And I was like, holy crap, that's a really big dude in armor with a giant machine gun. I need to know what's going on in here. Went in, played my first demo game, and bought the Chaos Dwarf Army book. That was my first ever purchase. I still have it. And I'm slowly recollecting my army from online trades and like checking old hammer sites and stuff. I've got a death rocket, I've got a command section, and I've got 24 plastic warriors. So I'm getting there. The crowning jewel is when I get my Lamassu.
Awesome. So, Lex, do you have anything new and exciting that you're working on currently?
Currently, everything for me is Zone Mortalis. Infantry. Everything has a shield. Lots of Imperial Fists. Lots of making them incredibly muddy. Because nothing says 40k or 30k because it's all Horus Heresy, like Grimdark and lots of grime. So enjoying putting grime over everything. Because it means I can be as sloppy as like with my paint jobs, cover everything in battle damage, and then get all together mud, which is definitely the way forward. And it means that painting with Q-tips is big and clever. Everybody should try it once in a while. Really ups your eyeball game.
Awesome, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We'll have to get some tips off you after stream to gum up my techno barbarians because I've got that project on the go as well.
Yeah, I've been like so my next project is going to be getting up my word bearers. So I think some of you have known for a while that so my Death Guard army was stolen, just gone. When I left my Games Workshop, just gone. Don't know where it went. So instead of restarting my Death Guard again, I just decided, you know what? Let's do something new. Let's do some daemons. Let's summon some demons. And I just decided let's go. Let's do it. I've been trying to research up how to grime up their kind of dark rouge armor. It's kind of finicky. To say the least, because it's so
to get it to show up without looking artificial.
Well, it's not even just how artificial it looks. It's their armor is pretty muted. It's pretty dark. It's not a bright red like the Blood Angels. It's kind of like a purpley red.
More of a crimson.
Yeah, it's more of a crimson. It's very much more of a crimson. So putting dark streaking grime and any of the dust effects on that, it's just that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
Well, you could always do them in Colchizian gray, or still dominant Colchizian gray with some red armor panels, because it did take a while for the full Legion to go all hail Satan.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm also looking up at the idea of doing chipping. So basically,
I've got to do that for my Titan.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing a bright pink undercoat and then the crimson over it, and then when I go over it again, reactivating the paint with the Q-tip. I'm hoping that some of that pink is going to show through and it's going to just wear off and scratch off.
Okay, so faded like scuffed paint job. Yeah.
Yep.
Rather than just going for the straight to the metal or the ceramite chips.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. I don't want to go down to the. Yeah, I don't want to go down to the straight to the ceramide chips because I think that's a little bit too much. Maybe in some areas I might want to do that, but I want to keep that to a minimum because the whole model's going to be pretty dark anyway. So I don't want to overdo it with the highlights as well. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
it's interesting to try maybe different metals and they're like so you've got different you've got variation within those chips rather than just going like straight to the the silver. I mean, there's sort of various different brasses and bronzes and things like that might work instead. There's sort of like a mid-tone for it.
Yeah,
so, going for
this is something I've actually wanted to ask you, Lex. Is there a consensus on what like ceramide actually looks like underneath the paint? Because it's
numerous pictures of various different legions within the black books, which have them down as unpainted ceramite. So within that, you've got Death Guard, some of which are their tan sort of color, the beigey tan
like
color.
that off-white.
That's said to be unpainted. Where you've got Space Wolves, which are again supposed to be like unpainted ceramite, which has got some of the grey in that instance as well. So I mean, within that, it shows that there's different colours of it. I think probably within that, what you could put it down to is the way that SGC technology is supposed to work. Is it takes anything from your local area and it allows you to use that to build the thing that you need to build.
Processes it into the end result. So if there's a higher certain mineral or element content within the base dirt, it sucks up to make the ceramite.
Within that,
good old dark age of technology. That's everything.
Because here's the weird thing. There's a bit of contradiction on that because the Grey Knights are meant to be unpainted ceramite. They do not paint their armor. They're supposed to be naturally just silver, chrome silver. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Well, maybe that's just Emperor grade pimp ceramite.
Maybe there's an overabundance of platinum on the moon. I don't know.
So yeah, I mean, there's various different ones, and it just gives you that opportunity for like painting at the end of the day. I mean, I've always considered it to be the sort of like the dark brown color because it's supposed to be sort of anti-heat. Sort of heat resistant as well. So I mean, it being like ceramic ceramite, it'll have that flat tone to it. So when I'm doing things, it tends to be whatever the paint job is, so black for my fists or yellow, then use rhinox hide or a dark brown as that sort of ceramite layer, and then the underneath as the final level of chipping. So, but that's your sort of standard way of doing sorts of things, but again, it's kind of what works with the colors that you're painting at the end of the day.
Yeah, so, because if I were to do dark brown, it'll just be like it doesn't show up on the crimson. It's just like it's like
there's a little coffee stain.
There's a coffee stain on his blood marks, right? On his ritual marks. Right.
Yeah. I have my late night caffeine.
Yep. I've got my OJ in the morning. OJ and whiskey in the morning.
That's because you're hardcore.
He's not wrong.
After this, I've got a big 2K game, and I'm going to be testing out a new list. So I'll need to have the brain cells for that.
Yeah, I've got some. So I'm heading. I'm in Singapore. I mean, I can still say I'm heading to the north, or heading up country or anything like that, even though it's 20 minutes away. And it still counts, even though the place is about this big. But yeah, I've been invited. Some of the guys who run the Singapore Heresy page, and so I'm going to be taking my Zone Mortalis board up with me because there's nothing like traveling with giant cases of boards on public transport because why not? It was a project which I did
nothing like it at all. It's a unique and beautiful experience.
It was a project which I did during lockdown in London. started opening up. When they did, you were only allowed outside, only meeting one person, and that means that we couldn't have people over to play games or anything along those lines. So
it was very similar here in Canada.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was to be able to play Beer Garden Hammer with my mates. So I painted up as a palace board to be able to, and made sure that I had a transport option. So I've got a little trolley, I've got the boxes for it to fit in, I've got the bungee cords which keep it all together, and then it means that I can just load it up, like get my trolley, walk down the pub, and unload and get a table in the Beer Garden and start playing like 30k, which is great. And it now means I'm going to be doing the same thing here in Singapore. So yeah,
awesome.
30k on the move.
That's fantastic.
Awesome. Is that going to be at a local game shop, or is it just at a bloke's house?
Yeah, one of the guys' houses, and so he's got a variety of different like Titanic boards and things like that. So I thought I'd take along like Zone Mortalis this time, and then yeah, we'll work out like different games. And it's one of the things which I'm enjoying doing at the moment is just writing different games and missions and things like that. So that rather than it just being you turn up and have a scrap, there's a bit of narrative to it. We're creating extra units, we're doing different things. And the community here is really, really, really passionate about things. So everybody's like make new stuff and build new things for the games that we're playing. So it's really invigorating because of that, because it means we can just write stuff and try stuff, and everybody's like, let's play more games.
And I have to say, as another old timer, like that is the heart and soul of what the game used to be. These are the rules. Make anything you want within them. My favorite games when I was a youngster were like asymmetrical, where like a much larger force is taking on a smaller force, and there was some sort of series of conditions that would allow me to win, like just surviving a certain number of turns, even if I died to a man. Because like we're holding off the horde for like the governor to blast off in his rocket or something, and you make it a cinematic, imaginative experience rather than my little dudes roll dice and your little dudes go on the side of the table now.
So you're
and that's what it is.
Yeah, we need to use what we have essentially. So yeah, like which is opposed to the new generation, which is my generation.
Which are just competitive.
Yeah, I'm the punching bag at my local game shop, where just like you go, okay, you can beat this guy, and then you can start to go up with the other guys. And it's like, what? Why am I the gatekeeper?
Why do you have to beat me up first?
So like
there's something
so I've got people coming in from like so like I had somebody from like Europe, from Germany, somebody from like freaking like Russia come in and go like, I want to play you. It's like, what? How do you know me?
You're the guy. Oh my god! It's like an old bad kung fu flick. Like kick in the game door and like my superior Imperial Guard fighting style will destroy your puny Necrons.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of that. Like I play a lot of like strangers, which is all fun and great. Some of them take it very, very seriously, which is all fine and dandy. It is a different play style. It's a different game when you play like that. It's very like cognitive and mathematical and kind of like.
Like even some commission work I've done for younger players, I've noticed their army composition are like super optimized, but lack any sort of flavor.
I think
it's just like replication of like certain units and exact numbers to a certain like thing, and they don't care if they like have like a bunch of dudes who look exactly the same as long as they're powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but don't you want me to cut his arms off and move them and like give him a new head so he doesn't look like that guy?
It's one of the things that I notice in how lists get written, that there's often a redundancy in how units are made. So if there's something which is powerful and can do something well, you then have another one of it exactly the same for making sure that A, it allows you to keep doing it, or B, if that thing doesn't work one time, then you've got another chance at it. So as you say, it's very mathematical in how things work. But within that, it almost doesn't have the same sort of narrative. So similar, if you include Alpha Strike units within the list. So I've got a drop pod which has this unit of guys who've got like guns and the skills which I've chosen, which means that they're going to be able to take out your super heavy, whatever it happens to be, and they'll turn up on turn 1, and they'll be able to do that. It happens. It makes your game easier and allows you to carry out your mission and do what you want to do. However, rather than like somebody having spent painting something and then getting to use it, it just takes it off the board. And rather than it being then the struggle against you having superior tactics and the like to win against it, then means that you're just, which allows you to remove it. So there isn't narrative, and to my mind, it's better to have a narrative which allows you to do something and struggle against it and win, or struggle against it, and that's important than just being able to go, I'm going to negate.
100% agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree as well. Like, I find that like interesting games rather than difficult games are a lot easier to do, because I've had difficult opponents, but they haven't been fun. They have not been fun to play with.
I've had challenging opponents that were very fun because of the attitude in which they approached the game, right?
Yeah.
And I've also had, dudes who just picked a bunch of random crap that they like the look of and are playing who were total douche canoes. But those best moments, I definitely have to say, are those ones where like something like a last stand or like an overwhelming victory by like the underdog in a big duel, or like one-shotting a knight with like some sort of like a miraculous series of lucky sixes. Those are the moments where like everyone cheers and you get a big reaction at the table, and like they stick with you. And that's why I think we play the game more than just to rack up notches on like our tally belt, right?
Yeah. So I remember what I saw at my Death Guard army. My Death Guard army was built around a gigantic core of like infantry. Like I think it was 80 guys. 80 just like Mark II, Mark III guys, just hanging out in squads of 20 with one guy with like artificer armor and just with a power scythe. And I remember just Zool, a buddy of mine, and back then a lot of the Horus Heresy guys in the Singapore community were playing Custodians. They would charge that, and then immediately go like, okay, I'm a Vexilla, more tyrants on the board, I'm stubborn, I'm not going to move, and my power scythe is AP2. They're like, wait!
I only brought like 12 bananas.
And usually like those guys would be reinforced by a character in each one, because I would spam out very cheap consoles, because I knew that the consoles were the only things that could take Thunder Hammers, Power Fists, or even more power size in the unit. And I really liked Forge Lords.
Multi-bombs and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked to use Forge Lords to get those 3+ invulnerables in those large block units, because as soon as you charge them or hit them with that, I'm just going to take it on the 3+ invulnerable, and if he dies, he dies, but I don't mind. It is an expendable shield in my just gigantic stupid army. Also, I had a Leviathan that was just like.
I think it's one of the things that the original intent of Heresy was that you'd have buckets of guys on the table, and you'd be taking buckets of guys off every turn, just to have that flavor of like the brutality of it. And so giant units.
Yeah.
It is a sight to behold when you have 80 Space Marines on the board, and that's not even like the full army. And to have them see them like with no transports, just walking across the field and just go like 6 inches at a time, just going like.
And when you hit that magic 12-inch spot, bap.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things is making sure that we're playing with those things, which kind of are the thematic ideas for how games are going to be played. And to my mind, I mean, there are tournaments for have been, although I don't think that's really where it's designed as a game. I mean, game balance is one thing. Like you mentioned earlier, like having like units which are good and that sort of thing. But I mean, within it, if you're playing a story-based game, it's more around how you're interacting with your opponent. Those, as you've said, those good games, the things that you remember and why they're enjoyable. And so, if you've got infantry being king, that'd be great. It does. Alluded to earlier. I mean, I'm painting lots of breaches at the moment, but it does take a toll when you have 80 plus guys to get on the board. But when it's there and when it's done, it's the best looking thing that you can do. In my mind, if we can go back to more infantry based games, and when the templates come in and wipe out a whole host of guys, that's great, and you're really happy that it happens because it looks awesome, and you've got like things raining down. But because there's so much infantry,
you have that mental image of the smoking crater with just like a soup of marine parts in there. I and then there's a whole 20-man squad right behind it, just wading through their brothers. Absolutely. Which is definitely something that that I guess is why Heresy kind of leans towards playing the larger point games.
Very much.
Yeah, but also I find that so I find that I prefer in Horse Heresy at least the legions which go towards more infantry based combat. So I find that a lot of people in the community will stack on a lot of Contemptors, a lot of Leviathans, a lot of Sicarians, a lot of Land Raider Proteuses to kind of like offset that, like, I need to pay like all these guys. Like, no, I don't need to. I just have a lot of vehicles now. So I find that is a bit of a no fun spiel. That is a bit of a no fun spiel for me. Because I specifically chose Death Guard because I like the story of them, Mortarion going, no transports! No transports! Yeah. Everyone walks through this! Except for me, that has the lantern and I can teleport! It's like, what?
Do as I say, not as I do. This will be an ongoing theme.
So I remember when I used to have like 20 Grave Wardens, like with those 80 guys, and then a full set, like a full complement of I think I had a 1.15 Death Shroud with Mortarion. I'll go up the board. Or just walk up the board. No one has teleport homers. No one has transports. I have one vehicle, maybe two. That's like a Whirlwind Scorpius and a Leviathan is also walking with me. I just go okay.
Like a little armor support is hunky dory, but going, I don't know, like sometimes going ball to the wall with armor, if you're doing it in a thematic and fluffy way, can be fun. Because
depends. So
yes, me, you have some like offset advantages, but at the same time, you don't get like the ability to like hold objectives. You pop like a cork from the back unless you're a Land Raider.
I think
so like there's always ways around it.
I think for me, right, it's more so just like you play towards the theme of your Legion. So if you were an Iron Hands Legion, I would understand a little bit more. If you brought like 8 Contemptors, and I'm like, whoa, okay. I would look at you a bit like, oh, okay, shoot, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I would raise an eyebrow at an all jet bike salamanders army for sure.
Yeah,
Like, that's weird.
But if you
One
were
of the things
saying
that
like,
all legions can play everything. So the idea was
can, absolutely.
So
yeah,
there's it's thematic for what you're doing and why you're doing it. Go for it. Fill your boots. I don't want to sort of anybody playing anything. I mean, I've got an Ultramarines tank army. I've got a Space Wolf mixed infantry and tanks. I've got my Imperial infantry. So there's a bit of everything, and they're kind of like on point for what we're doing. But I don't want to be prescriptive in who I'm playing and how I'm playing them. With what they want to do, I think. I mean, obviously, playing so much does kind of limit what you're able to take to a degree, and therefore it means that I mean, instead of all the tanks or all the walkers or however you're going to do things, then it changes things up again. But within that, still, take what's fun. But if we're going to be writing games and coming up with a story together, then at which point it means it's that little bit easier. And that's one of the ideas which I've got at the moment is which I'm working on is to create a war zone which we're going to start a campaign across. So it means that you can use anything you like. If you're constantly using that force throughout things, it's going to gain more character, it's going to gain more background, more ideas, and all the characters that you're using within that again will fit in. So for instance, I mean, if you've got that salamanders jet bike army, they exist. I mean, the salamanders do have jet bikes. They will have
do have jet bikes, and there is probably an entire company of them that is just on zippy zips.
But again,
let's use it. Let's fight with it, and let's give it some character rather than it being just because you're arriving to a game and it's a bit stronger than the next thing. It also means that people get normalized about playing against different things, and so in doing so it means that they get to learn like how those different things work. One of my Ruben, he just before I came over to Singapore. I went to one of the game shops over there, and he turned up with 2 armies and 2 army lists, and essentially they were like folded up in envelopes, and he just handed me 2 envelopes. So right, I've got 2 armies. I've written them myself, and so they're both his armies. He knows everything about how they work, but he was Custodes, one was Emperor's Children. Showed me the 2 envelopes. Which one do you want to play? And I was going completely blind. So I chose one. I got the Emperor's Children, got to fight against the Custodes, but using the Emperor's Children. And then within that, it meant that he was challenged in his list writing because he knew the strengths of both sides and wanted it to be fun both for himself and the person he was playing against. But at the same time, he was also trying to make it challenging for both players and to also gain that ability to learn how everything for that particular list works, because I don't play either of those armies. Ergo, I need to knowledge of it by using it, but it can't be too difficult because at the same time I'm just picking it up. And within doing that, it means that that person gets to learn how things work. And we had a great game, and I definitely recommend it as a way to.
Yeah, no, that's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Dude, when we do the visit to play Heresy, we should swap armies.
Well, were you talking to Lex or me?
I'm talking to you. I'm looking up. You're above me. We established this in the preamble.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
We're doing the Brady Bunch thing.
Yeah. So I like the whole idea of, because I'm starting a brand new legion, I always want to lean into the theme of that legion. So if I was starting Ultramarines, I would like to do Combined Arms. If I was going to do Iron Warriors, it would be siege equipment, artillery, and
so like lean into their
specialities.
Like or like their most pronounced elements of their characters as opposed to the fringe elements of the chapter.
Yeah.
Or
so
legion.
That's why my Death Guard was all about the infantry and just the walking infantry, because that's what I read and that's what I wanted to do. That's what I went out to achieve. And I think at one point I did have 100 Terminators where I could just play Pride of Legion and just go like, oh, 3,000 points, 100 Terminators, there you go.
That is so good.
At one point I had that. And it was just like, yeah, nobody has teleport homers, nobody has anything, everyone's just walking. Get out there, except for Mortarion.
Good scrub.
Like, get it, scrub! You don't have strange alien architect to teleport you around.
Yeah,
And,
swapping armies is a great way to do that, and like being able to like discuss with your opponent and give them ideas, give them hints, and say, you might want to do that because X, or you might want to consider trying this in the middle of the game. And the other thing about that is rather than it being that competitive thing, it means you get to you may have missed something, or you may have forgotten about that unit behind that building, or
yeah, and I could see it as being a very nice sharing experience, something where you're kind of coaching each other on how to use the armies that you're using, and that sounds fun and like a good time and a good way to have a couple of chuckles over some pints and some dice.
yeah, exactly. Like, I'm very stoked to eventually, well, in my planning, I really want to get, I really want to get, the what are they called, the Megaras, the possessed dreadnoughts.
yeah.
Well, there's just the one, right?
There are a few. So he isn't a named character. He's just that is the name of
Oh,
the
just
unit.
a thing.
It is the thing, and it's like
Yeah.
I think that's one of the coolest models ever, and I think that is a very good kind of like halfway point between current 40k like possessed dreadnoughts, which are now I
like
feel a little bit
brutes with
the Elves
toes.
and stuff like that, and like the Contemptor dreadnoughts, where it's like you can sort of see like that is the shape of a Contemptor. That's a very like obvious like
Galvor Bach or like everything every possessed marine ever wants to be. They're so freaking beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very excited to get like a couple full squads of Galvor backs at some point because I think they're like such an amazing model, and they just put the possessed Space Marines from 40k to shame. They're like oh, like the guy she. Well, it's more like yeah, it's more like the guy she tells you not to worry about, and then you. It's like you're the possessed. It's like oh no.
And then you just have the Argol Tal model.
And it's like
it's funny because my heresy word bearers have no possessed or Galvor back or anything like that in them. It's just 16 Terminators, 2 of them are characters, Lorgar, and a 10-man destroyer squad.
Or standard.
Oh, sorry, I didn't catch your audio.
Oh, Lex, your audio. Try it again. We can't hear you.
I heard that.
Oh, okay. I think your mic has a distance thing, just like Molly's, where if you go too far back, it's like, nope, I can't hear you.
Lean in to the conversation.
Yes.
Just lean into the conversation.
Just lean in.
Extreme cluster. Yeah, Mike. So because I've got my my blue mic, but it's deciding that if I'm plugged in at the moment, that it wants to actually try and play back through that, which being a microphone, it doesn't do. So yeah, the wonders of modern technology. We'll see if we can get that sorted in the not too distant future.
Oh yeah, technology is glorious. 2 steps forward, 1.25 steps back.
Oh yeah. As technology advances a lot more, you have like needed people like me that are just like half engineers, half artsy people, and just okay. I just need you guys to do this. That's all.
Then there's me who's anti-tech and just artsy, and I'm like, I need friends because I need make it go.
Yep.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it on again?
Yes, and I've switched out plugs. I hit it. I told it I'd buy it stuff.
And then it still doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
There's a webcomic called XKCD, and many moons ago, they put a flow chart of how fixing things works, and it essentially works that. Do you know how it works? Yes, no.
Oh, Lex. Uh-oh.
Thanks.
Okay, wait. Technical difficulties.
Dude.
One. And we are back. Sorry about that. There's always one or two of those in every recording.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, since we are on the last 20 minutes of the segment, let us go on to the third subject. Is there anything that you're concerned about right now in the hobby? Maybe like for the future, or like what's the current trend going on?
So, so I look after a Facebook group called Crusade and Heresy, which is 7,500
Nice.
globally, looking at all sorts of things. And the big topic of the conversation at the moment is the various different leaks for Heresy 2.0, how that's happening, and what it might mean. As far as I can tell, somebody deep in the playtesting group has leaked the full playtesting document and prior to its release, which is sad. And I'd personally like to see everything as it's meant to be, so we can all enjoy it all at the same time, rather than if you go onto some site which happens to be hosting it, you know where it is, and you can say, or you've got a friend who will show it to you, or that sort of thing. It's a bit sort of. I mean, we're all very excited by it, and we all want it to happen.
There's definitely apprehension and excitement in equal measures on what the future will hold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to come. It's going to arrive. But having things in a piecemeal fashion where not everybody gets to see it, and there's still all that speculation about what may change, what may still be the same. It just feels a bit grubby, rather than like this big hurrah that everybody gets to enjoy all at the same time. So, yeah, that's the big pain at the moment. That and people shouting about gatekeeping, about Primaris Marines being used in Heresy still, which can get in the bin. Just the conversation, rather than actually doing it, because people want to. It's their toy soldiers.
Yeah, it's just toy soldiers.
You paid for your little plastic dudes. Do with what you will.
So I think for me and Molly, because we both work at the Games Workshop, that's a big part of our, I guess, like disenfranchisement when it comes to working in the hobby industry, is that we get to know everything beforehand, and it fucking sucks for us because it takes all the excitement and it takes all the joy out of, like, getting the new things. And it's like,
at first it was a new and different joy. It's like, hey, I know stuff you don't, hey. And that was kind of cool. And then after a while, like, because you'd see everyone be like, oh my god, did you see the new da-da-da? And be like, yeah, man, I
knew about it months ago.
I painted 3 of them, like, in September.
Yeah.
But why didn't you tell me? I wasn't allowed.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like, especially when I was working there, I had to really, like, study up, like, every single, like, one of the new battle tomes or codexes or whatever. Like, I spent like I specifically had them, like, requested them a week in advance so I could read them when I was on my, like, lunch break or toilet break, or, like, just even on the bus or whatever.
Oh yeah, the shop would get a staff copy that would live in the staff room, and you just were not allowed to look, or it could not leave there, and you could not talk about anything in it, but you were encouraged to read it whenever you had downtime and were in the back.
Yeah, because it was like the opposite, the owner's operandi, like, we have people that are quite curious about like the codexes or the battle tomes that will be a bit more on the I want to know how good they are, that kind of thing.
I think there's the desire to know and the desire to get one up, but it's just the desire to have something happening. I mean, to my mind, all of the units, the historical battles, and all the stuff that the design studio are putting out at the moment from the Heresy Front is great. You know, I really appreciate all the effort that's being put into that because they're building new units.
Huge.
But it's never enough. There's almost an entitlement that we should have and we should know prior to things happening, and it's sad that we can't just enjoy the games that we're playing.
But
that's reflective of the nature of information is disseminated, how we engage with each other, what's in lockdown and not having those face-to-face conversations, whatever it might be.
Very much so. Like, I have had one face-to-face game in 2 years. So yeah, it's drastically changed that element of it, and I think also now that we're in the age of social media and instantaneous information like distribution, that's really changed a lot of like the primary focus of a lot of those big release things. Like, you're no longer surprised by releases. You've heard about it like 3 to 6 months in advance, regardless of what it is. It's no longer like you pick up an issue of White Dwarf and you're like, hot, greasy shit. I have what? Dwarf Slayer for Mordheim? Yeah.
It's one of those things that there should be a degree of excitement, and let's bring that back. And so, if it comes to the leaks or anything like that, I've seen lots of it because chats and things like that with things being shared, and I've read none of it, and I don't intend to because I've said on my page that if anybody puts anything up, then I'm going to delete it, and I stand by that. I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm not going to say on one hand I've seen things and I've read things, and then say you're not allowed to, because that doesn't work. Let's be honest. Let's be the paragons of what we want our community to be. So within that, I think if we can be positive, if we can engage, if we can enjoy, then I think that's going to be like the best way of doing things. I think how things are coming out at the moment, unfortunately, means that it's going to negatively affect any timeline of releases down the way, because if things have come out through because it's a playtest document, it's got it written all up. Then at which point it means that they're going to have to rebuild that playtest team and the trust which comes with that, and how that's going to work. And that's going to affect things. It's going to affect timing. It's going to affect how all these things happen. So within that, it's almost, was in the foot by being too keen to see things. So if we can just dial it back a little bit, be excited, but be excited when things turn up, and just do what we have and playing games with each other in the meantime. That's kind of where I stand.
100%.
100%. It's interesting to see the difference in the Horus Heresy community and the 40K community, because in the 40K community, we've had leaks for a very long time, like forever. When it comes to any new codex, any new edition, it always gets leaked 100% of the time, and there's been no delay. So a lot of that,
and usually page by page, or like in small, like little, like 3-round bursts. But by usually 2 weeks before the codex comes out, you can draft yourself a relatively accurate army list. You just might have some holes.
Yeah. So it's really it's really different to see how the Horus Heresy community reacts, because this is a very normal thing for the 40K community. Whereas I guess the Horus Heresy community, because it's a lot more niche, you expect that there be a bit more like trust. But
I think there's a degree to the nicheness of it, but also the pace of releases when compared to things like 40K and that sort of thing. with 40k, I mean, the codex can be released, and then a week later, it's no longer.
There's an FAQ that comes out before the thing hits
My
the
freaking
shelf.
Necron Codex is everything in that book is no longer applicable to me. It's still the same edition.
As part of that, I mean, it's interesting that it's a print media game, but which is almost being treated like it's a digital game, which I'm always one for the book being, and so I mean, if we can go back to enjoying that tactile nature of having a book. I mean, I love when the black books come out and you just open it.
Absolutely. And I guess like for me, Horus Heresy is one of the few Games Workshop games, and I guess some of the other specialist ones where I'll actually go out and get a hard copy because I know it's not going to be reprinted in like 12 months.
Yeah.
Because unless I'm going to an established like official tournament where I need like the officially book and all the officially doodahs, I won't bother getting a hard copy of the codex. I'll just have a PDF. Because it's just less of an investment. It doesn't take up as much space. I don't have to, decide what stays on my bookshelf as they're creaking under the weight of 30 years of Warhammer lore.
Like honestly, right now, right?
Yeah, it's just over there. I'm not going to set the camera.
Like Horus Heresy is probably like the last vestige where like you can get away with a hard copy book, because right now with the current like expedient pace of releases when it comes to Games Workshop products, with the Games
with the two main games stuff, right now,
it's like I have to play Tyrannus, right? I have 4 books. I needed 4 books on me.
Yeah.
4 books.
Well, technically, you need the codex, but to get access to all the kick-ass, top meta competitive shenanigans, you need to have like some Warzone books and Psychic Awakening majiggers and this, that, the other.
That. It's not even just that. It's like, okay, so the codex is so far out of date, but you need the codex for some reason, even though all the points have changed. Nothing in that book is correct, and most of the stratagems in that book is worded differently now. Then you want the Psychic Awakening, which is now wrapped into the one of the Warzone books, which is for one of the core hive fleets in the core book. So that is tacked onto that specifically for Leviathan. Then you want a 4th book, which is a White Dwarf book for the Army of Renown, which is the Crusher Stampede, which is a special detachment that you can only get, and it is a 3-page White Dwarf article to go on top of that.
Man, didn't 9th edition happen because the 8th edition bloke got too silly?
4 books!
And it's
4 books!
What, is it 2 or 3 years now? 3 years?
I'm more of a librarian than I am a gamer. Like, I have a Dewey Decimal System for all my little post-it notes. And I'm like, what? So here's the thing, right? We're gonna run a bit over time, but this is I think it's a pretty on-point question. So, what do you think is the best way for a new person to get into Horus Heresy?
Build tactical marines.
But what kind of tactical marines?
So, to my mind, the best way into it is there's going to be a new box coming out, and that will be the new entryway. I mean, it used to be Prospero or Calth or anything like that.
Both were
skills, and it gave you an army in a box. Because it's a couple of characters, a couple of squads, and a vehicle or something like that, some variety. So yeah, great way of doing things. And when that occurs again, and it will be the best way to do it. Prior to that, then as we've said throughout, are always going to be king. So you can't go wrong by having tactical marines. And they create plastic sets of those. You get Mark 4, Mark 3, and they're great models, great kits, lots of options, and yeah,
tons of options.
They'll work. Other than that, you can actually quite happily build a 30k based on plastic stuff, which is maybe not going to be held by the store itself, but you can still order it. So you can get worlds, you can get rhinos, you can get land raiders, you can get tactical marines, you can get characters, you can get terminators. All that stuff is canon appropriate, and or you can convert things out of other things that you've got. But get people to talk to you about it, and depending on the smart got Battlescribe will have a lot of the documents on it. Sorry, the army list, or I use IOS and therefore have Quartermaster, which I think is a great system for building army lists. Use those, but yeah, getting the books so that you can get into that again is the way forward.
And definitely starting with the black books. Or are the sorry, I get it mixed up all the time. Are the red books the current list books? Yeah, I got that switched. So starting with the red books, whether or not you want to go Tagmata, Marine, or Auxilia / Militia.
So
and then
all of those are there. They can be
the big fat sexy art books of Ultimate Glory. Because that's where so much of the flavor lives. I remember every time one came out, the first thing I wanted to find was the Marine Heraldry pre-primer, Unification era, just a little yellow memorial or one pad is green, kind of thing.
Yep.
I mean, getting into the feel of the Legion and that sort of thing is when you start really getting into the background and the heart of the game, which is the stories. I mean, the black books for Heresy are a continuation of the Imperial Armor books, which used to be the campaign books, effectively. Forge World used to put out. Now, Forge World don't do those anymore, and they're kind of the Warzone books, which 40k now has. And so it goes into a bit more depth. And within that, I think they're great for that really getting a feel for something and playing a campaign through and getting the
not to mention inspiring a little extra work on conversions and paint jobs, just to kind of give that flavor to that Mark III Marine that, this is clearly a word bearer, Iron Warrior, Iron Hand, what have you.
Yeah.
And within that, I mean, there's a wealth of media out there. Go and get on whichever particular podcast, YouTube show, Facebook group, Discord, whatever it happens to be. And there'll be people who've been playing since before Heresy started. I mean, I kicked mine off in 4th edition, I think, 4th, 5th edition. So I mean,
nice.
We were converting.
When that White Dwarf issue came out, that had all the Heresy legions converted in it. Yeah.
And it's all that old school stuff. So people have been playing it and doing it for ages, and it's making things happen out of other stuff. I mean, so you don't have to have this piece. You can build things out of other stuff and talk to people about how they've done it for donkey's years. Yeah. And then there are the forgeable pieces, but there's enough sites out there that you can buy armies, either painted, unpainted, whatever, that make it that bit more accessible, that bit cheaper. And then on top of that, there's always printing. If you've got access to a printer, then if you want to have guys with boarding shields and you can't afford the shipping wherever you happen to be in the world from Forge World, then at which point, printing's an option. I'm all for it. I like heavy flamers for which don't exist.
Oh, heck yeah.
So, yeah. Just including and making things just that little bit more accessible. I wouldn't ever recommend using recasters. I don't think that's the way forward. I think that actually damages the hobby personally. So
although third-party manufacturers, I do have a soft spot for.
That's people who are designing things and creating stuff.
Yeah, and actually creating their own art and stuff based within that greater universe, or at least just intellectually distinct enough.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, there's an entire discussion behind that.
Oh yeah,
there is a very big discussion.
Like a 12-headed Hydra discussion panel show on this at some point.
Like
that's nice.
Me and Molly are like. Molly is a practicing artist. I used to be quite a I used to have like some art pieces in Melbourne Gallery in the NGV. So it's just like for a lot of us that actually do have like are trained artists, we're like very like distinct about it. But I think the whole thing about 3D printing and stuff like that, we touched on a very sensitive topic. That's like I know a lot of people that are like very like. I do not want any 3D printing. I hate 3D printing. And it's such a strong reaction, and I don't really understand. I don't really understand that because I see
especially for bibs and bobs and little things, or alternately, I see no reason why if someone can't afford some of the higher end products, why can't they just print their own?
It's not about...
It'll clearly and distinctly be a different design. It won't be the original miniature, but it prevents like gatekeeping within the hobby, and chances are that person's going to dump a bunch of money on a sexier version of it when they can.
Well, it's not even just about like the monetary aspect of it. So let's take the monetary aspect out of it, right, and just go for like aesthetics. Like if you are creating something that is inherently different but fits into that universe, why shouldn't it be in it? How different is that from conversions? How different is that from doing your own sculpts? Like, if
I think the conversation around it is, and if you look at the IP rules within from Forge World and the like, they basically say, yeah, we're all for 3D printing. We've got no problems with it. However, please don't share files. And I think that's one of the questions around 3D printing is the ability to share files rather than converting. So it's a slippery slope. But I mean, on the Titanicus side of things, which I really enjoy, there's some amazing modelers who do some wonderful work for like conversion parts. And I think my favorite one is, I think they called it the Goliath or something like that, but it's from original Titanicus. There was the Corvus Assault Pod, where your Warlord Titan had a bucket on the end of its arm full of Terminators, ram it into
they're just punched into like either a building or another Titan and filled them with Terminators. Be like, you're pregnant with Space Marines, take that.
Yeah.
I was looking at the same Etsy site today. They also had the old Spitfire head that has like the Gatling gun at the end, and then the one with chainsaw chin. So like, give me kisses. And I was having all sorts of old school Titanicus vibes and stuff from that. Yeah. And that kind of stuff is brilliant. Or some of the chapter icons and weapon upgrades that you can get through Shapeways. Like, I'm sure you've seen the Carcharodon, like themed Maori, like chain weapons. So it's like a chain Taiaha.
Stay Space Shark and be proud.
I will say Space Shark and be proud.
Just be Space Shark and be proud.
In High Gothic, Carcharodon Astra. Just because it's fake Latin doesn't mean it's not Latin.
So yeah,
there's great stuff out there, and again, if that's your gateway into things, then use it, but don't abuse it. And I think that's the same with like any type of media. I mean, it is a niche hobby, and it is an expensive hobby, and so go in with your eyes open about how pricey things can be. And if it comes to it, I'm going to be running games of Kill Team, but done in a Heresy style.
Oh, nice.
it's it's going to be scale. It's going to be different. It's going to be just engaging with playing things in a different way. Feel that things are accessible for people. So yeah, all sorts of things.
Off topic, or just I guess to finish it off, can you send me those files so I can play Kill Team and Heresy 2?
Have you written them down, Lex? Have you written them down?
Take them out of my head and put them on.
Exactly. Yeah. So also on the final note, I have been trying to get like more people into Heresy in my local game shop because I think it's a little bit of a easier system to wrap around with, because with the current like 40K time frame in terms of release schedules, a lot of new players seem to get left behind very, very quickly, extremely quickly, in fact, to a point where like I feel kind of like a bit bad for getting people into the hobby because they're on that treadmill, and it is a treadmill. It is a real treadmill for 40K. So for 30K is a bit more of a slower paced release cycle, so you can
schedule. You
can get used to it. You can really like enjoy yourself when it comes to like this edition, this army. This is my army. This is the way I want to play it.
Take your time building your stuff up, as opposed to feeling like you have to do it at breakneck speed. Otherwise, you're going to be obsolete.
Yeah, exactly.
As part of that, if demo games or anything like that, and those stores are happy to, then I'll gladly bring some toy soldiers along and get engaged. So
I've been trying to get like demo games, just even basic demo games into shops. But that is something we'll probably have a discussion on, because I would like to do a Horus Heresy, like a Horus Heresy day at some point. So just to get people like to see like what it's all about.
Well, that would be great.
Maybe we'll do a tour around Singapore. I don't know.
The Crazy Horus Heresy Tour!
Maybe we'll do a tour around Singapore, like do a whole weekend of just like, we'll just go everywhere. We'll just go into every single game shop.
Again, just kicking in doors like, hey, motherfucker, you heard the word of Horus?
I've got nebulous plans to do a weekender, sort of trying to get it sort of like lots of folk from all over like the Asia Pacific region, like over to Singapore, to come play Heresy. So that's kind of nebulous at the moment. So if we can make that thing, then maybe we won't have to kick down doors and people can come kick down our house instead.
We need to come to that. We need to come to that.
Raw pod through the ceiling. Right on.
Right on. All right, this is going to be the end of the segment. We've run 10 minutes over time, but that is okay. So, thank you very much, Mr. Lex, for coming in and talking to us about Horus Heresy, talking a bit about like your history and about the hobby in general. And if you'd like to support us, hit that like button, hit that bell icon, comment down below if you like or dislike. Doesn't matter. I always want to hear stuff from you guys. And follow me on Instagram at DragonToothMakes. Lex, do you have anything to shout out?
Come find us on Crusade and Heresy. We're a big fan of getting people involved, and we'd love to see you. Come talk, come play games.
Molly!
Right on. Check me out on Instagram at Mr. Molly Malal. You can see whatever dumb thing I'm painting, and ridiculous jokes I have. I do have a Twitch stream, and I do have the cables I need to actually start streaming coming in the mail. I've been having some hardware difficulties, Lex.
Excellent. Well, we'll start streaming soon. Oh, well, okay. So if you'd like to be on the regular Hobby Ramblers show, please message me on Instagram or message me on YouTube. So you can get on here. Talk about your stuff.
Yeah, and we can all ramble. And I assure you I will say something that involves a cuss word.
That's what I expect. That is what I'm expecting. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Canadian.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.